Hey there, Trinity. One of the interesting things that has arisen over the last 10 to 15 years in our culture here is the idea of life coaching and life coaches. And you go to a person and they're going to work with you to maximize your utility, that's an economic term, or maximize your potential for you to be able to live the fullest life that you can possibly live, right? To have a good life. And it's possible there might be a life coach out there, and on their business card, it might have a question that says, hey, would you like to love life and see good days? Would you like to love life and see good days? And if that might be a good tagline for a life coach, then that life coach's name would be Peter. The first life coach 2,000 years ago when he was writing to the church, right? Really at that point, more of the Jewish part of the church, teaching them everything we've been going through for the past several months as we've worked our way through 1 Peter. But really getting to this passage that we're digging in this Sunday is answering that question. How do we love life and see good days? And our first thought is to come at that from a completely selfish standpoint, right? What do I have to do for life to be good for me? What do I have to do for me to see the good days that I want to see? But the fascinating thing in this passage is when the answer that God gives us through Peter, and actually Peter quoting from Psalms 34 out of the Old Testament, the answer of how do we have more of a church way to put this is how do we have a blessed life, right? How do we have the blessed life? And the answer is to be a blessing, right? If we ask the question of Scripture and the amazing wisdom that we see here is how do we love life? The answer is by loving others, right? How do we see good days? The answer is by making other people's days better. Guys, in this passage that we're looking at today, it really is. The title of this series through 1 Peter chapter 3 is Counterculture. And this lifestyle, right, this way of living that Peter outlines for us here is just about in stark contrast to these prevailing trends in our culture around us as maybe there could be. And here's the fascinating thing about this is an example of a passage of Scripture that a person who's not even a Christian, maybe he's an agnostic or even an atheist, if they took these principles of living that we have here and actually applied them and lived that way, their life is going to be better, right? It's not A plus B equals C. It's not a formula. You do this and you have no problem in life. That's definitely not what's being promised here. But if we just ask, based upon core human nature and the reality, the principles of this life, how do we love life and see better days? What Peter describes here, what God is telling us through Peter is powerful. It's powerful. But when we look at it not just as people, but we look at it from the standpoint of disciples of Christ, it moves from just being a formula that would make life better to being the power for not only a transformed life in ourselves, but a life that can bring transformation to those and to our families and culture and society around us. I'm really looking forward to Sunday. It's Mother's Day. It's going to be a great time here, but very encouraging. Last two Sundays, we've really got into depths in some things. This is not lighter, but a very refreshing passage of Scripture. Very encouraging and yet always challenging. So anyway, enough said. Guys, love you. Hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you Sunday. Happy Mother's Day in advance.